Welcome back to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. Want to check out those sponsors you may have missed or those coupon codes? All available at the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com underneath the Money tab and the Season 9 tab at the top of the page. Well, as we are getting into the beginning portions of summer in the northern portions of the United States, there is an opportunity to plan for a second crop of summer crops, and we'll discuss what that means here. Whenever we plant our summer crops, for cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, sometimes we think, well, that's all we're going to plant. We got that one summer, a couple of months, at 3.5, 4 months, and that's it. However, if planned correctly with the certain harvest of certain early crops or seasonal crops, we can get a second crop of some of these and still have basically a double growth cycle during the summer. Example, cucumbers. We plant them as soon as the soil is warm enough, 65 degrees at root zone. They do not like cold feet, and they run about 90 days. They run about 3 months. So let's just do some math. Middle of May, middle of June, middle of July, you're about done with them. But you still have middle of August and September, which are still fairly warm months. So if you plant yours middle of May, middle of June, you can plant another one, and then you can kind of pace that out if you have space available, where you can have halfway through the growing cycle of one, you've planted the other, so you can get the full duration of the summer, because these are not longevity plants. You may be able to...
I wouldn't say halfway through the cycle, maybe like a quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it depends on the plant. But yeah, like you said, they're not the most long growing.
You may think they're
plants.
long growing, but by the time they're kind of getting petered out, you wish you had had more or fresher ones or better ones. Right.
So like cucumbers, as you had mentioned, and then potatoes. Now, when you do the potatoes, you don't want to go with the 110-day potatoes. You want to go
the long season potatoes.
You want to go the short season potatoes, the ones that are like 90 days.
Right.
So that you can get that second crop successfully.
Now, we'll harvest garlic. We've harvested garlic in the past, and that leaves a bed or an area of the garden open. So we oftentimes will have extra tomatoes that we will put in that bed, or we'll have potatoes that we'll put in that bed in order to fill that spot, or beans. Beans are another one in which we can, in some degree, succession plant, but also fill in gaps. There's two types of edible beans. There's there's bush beans, and there is pole beans. Pole beans will take 70 to 80 days to reach maturity, produce all the way till frost. Bush beans will take 40 to 60 days to reach maturity, and we learned a couple of years ago in our garden, we were always told they'll put on beans for about 2 to 4 weeks, and that's about it. If you keep them hydrated on an irrigation system, they will produce all the way up till frost, and we were getting quarts and quarts, basketfuls of beans through frost. So the disadvantage to the bush beans is, one, you have to bend down and they take more space. The advantage, but they put on quicker. The disadvantage to the pole beans, they take a little bit longer, but the advantage is, as long as you have something vertical, you don't have to bend down, and they're easier to pick. So, again, you can succession plant, you can put these in, you can have multiple series of beans producing, if you're wanting an abundance of beans, edible pod beans. Now, with the pole beans, you're going to get green beans. That's it. Green color and pigmentation. Bush beans, you have royalty purple, which when cooked, the pigment loses. It's gone. You've got yellow pod edible beans, or you've got the traditional green beans. The yellow stays yellow whenever you can them or cook them. The green stays green. But the purple, that pigmentation loses it whenever you blanch them to freeze them, or you can them or cook them.
Yeah. So we got the beans. We have the corn. You're going to kind of have to explain this one, just because
corn can take a duration of time in which days to harvest, 85, 75, 85, 95, 105 days, based on your variety. Takes a tremendous amount of energy as well to grow. We have documented that on this program several times, where we did it one time for filming. We harvested it. We put a lot of energy into the corn, a lot of energy into the soil. to get what we got, which was wonderful. But to harvest corn when you can go to the farmer's market and buy it for 25 to 50 cents an ear, I can't grow it that cheap on a small scale. However, you can plant one bed of corn at the time early in the summer, and then halfway through that growth cycle, you can plant another bed of corn, and based on your average first frost date in the fall, you can time that out where you have about 3 weeks prior to, or 2 to 3 weeks prior to that average last frost date, and you can backdate that to when you should start that last bed of corn. If you're going to save if you do not care about the genetics of the corn, they will most likely cross-pollinate, and you're going to get some offshoot of the 3 varieties. If you're growing 3 different varieties, if you're growing one variety all across the garden, that's fine, but you will probably pick up some pollination cross from adjacent gardens or even agricultural fields in that manner. So you can succession plant, but you can plant whole blocks of the corn at different increments in order to get consecutive harvest.
Right.
Sunflowers.
Okay, sunflowers. So this is something that you probably don't think of when you think of gardening, maybe, unless you're me. But you can, there's actually people now who will take the sunflower heads and kind of fry them before they seed. So it definitely is.
So like before they dry, they'll take and deep
before
fry?
They seed.
Before they seed. So.
Yeah. So you'd have to use a larger sunflower because the smaller ones don't really. I think they just go from. I don't think this is an option.
The transition period is not strong.
But people say it tastes like roasted corn.
Okay.
Yeah, you like roast these sunflower heads. I mean, you obviously don't eat the petals.
Right.
But you.
Okay, so this is just something different.
FYI.
Okay,
yeah.
Something different.
Anyway, so sunflowers, you can start them basically the same time you start your tomatoes.
But you can start sunflowers inside.
Yeah, inside.
Yeah.
But then you can put the seeds directly in the ground when you put your tomatoes out, and then a little bit later in the season, typically then you could grow more.
Well, sunflowers can take anywhere from 80 to 140 days after planting to based on the variety in order to develop and put the sunflower head on and that whole process. So you could, based on the time in which you have available at frost date to frost date, you can succession plant, or you can plant different varieties at different times because they don't last. At peak for a sunflower, you're looking at 72 hours is kind of, from the time it opens. Oh, it's beautiful. And then instantly it just starts going downhill.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a couple that.
Well, tulips are like 2 days, and they bloom, they bloom, and that's it.
Especially if it's windy. It seems like those petals don't really hang on very well. So anyway, so sunflowers.
And there's all different. There's dwarf variety sunflowers, and there's full mammoth giant sunflowers. So,
I think they are called mammoth sunflowers.
And whatever color kind of you want. There's the very dark colored, and then there's red, and there's yellow, and if you see some funky, weird, like rainbow color stuff, that's all AI.
No, it's usually like somewhere along the yellow spectrum.
Right.
So it's like yellow, red,
but if you
orange.
see, just like anything on the internet, if you see the rainbow, it's red, blue, purple, it's AI, it's artificial intelligence. Don't waste your money. Rare, few left in the world.
But I will encourage you, if you are like, I don't like growing flowers, I don't have time, I would just
Sunflowers are different.
Yeah, sunflowers are different. They grow so easily. They grow like weeds, pretty much. And they'll give you a nice pop of color. I just love sunflowers are like my favorite. So I just encourage you to try growing them.
Zucchini. Now, zucchini, everybody, when you say, oh, do you grow zucchini? There's a certain group of people that cringe because by, August 8th or something like that, is put zucchini on your neighbor's porch because they're so, that's a national holiday. That's a national.
It's sneak zucchini on your neighbor's porch day. I think it's like August 8th or August 11th or something like that.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing because you plant 2 plants and you have like 400 pounds of zucchini. I'm exaggerating, but if done correctly, it's very, very prolific. But the challenge that many gardeners face is the planting it early and then dealing with the squash vine borer, eating away, embedding the larva inside the stalk of the stem of the plant, hatching and eating away the internal necessity vines or goodiness out of the stem and causing the plant to wilt, making it look like it needs water. You continue to water, it's flat on the ground because the larva has killed it from the inside out. So by waiting, if you typically plant it in early May, wait until late June after the moth has already went through its reproductive cycle, and you're still going to get zucchini, 75 days, I believe, somewhere in that realm. You're still going to get zucchini. And again, if you like zucchini, but you don't like zucchini that much, wait around. There's going to be plenty of people at your club, at your church, at your community garden that's going to say, hey, do you want some? I got plenty.
Even at work. I haven't worked in office full-time in 5 years.
You're remote. No, not so people are clear. You work from home. Yeah.
But when I worked in office, my office is like limbo anyway right now. Not my job, my office. But when I worked in office, people would bring in zucchini and they would just leave it in the lunchroom because they just...
Did it disappear?
It would disappear, yes, slowly. But no, there was plenty of people that, at the time when I worked in office, there was I think 500 or 250 or something people who worked there. So in that location...
Take one home, that's a good side dish for supper.
Yeah, so there's people that would get very excited about it. So yeah.
So now that summer is warming up, you want to protect your yard from those various beetles, weevils, and borers, including, Japanese beetles are here.
And what better way to prevent these pests from destroying your garden than by controlling them while they are larvae? Grub Gone is an easy-to-apply granular product that can be spread on your turf to successfully control grub invaders. Developed by Phylum Bioproducts from a naturally occurring bacteria, Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT product that specifically targets only certain scarab pests, and it's safe to use around beetles, bees, and other beneficial insects.
If you already have those beetles flying around or concerned that they will start soon to consume whatever vegetation you have available, Beetle Gone is the answer. It is the only organic water dispersible powder that can be directly sprayed on your edible plants. That's correct. Directly on your edible plants. Find out more at BeetleGone.com. That's BeetleGone.com.